tonight, and Mother came and pulled us out as help did in the book. We ought to have our role of direction, like Christian. What shall we do about that? Asked Joe, delighted with the fancy which lent a little romance to the very dull task of doing her duty. Look under your pillows Christmas morning, and you will find your guidebook, replied Mrs. March. They talked over the new plan while old Hannah cleared the table. Then out came the 4 little work baskets, and the needles. Needles flew as the girls made sheets for Aunt March. It was uninteresting. So, sewing. Sewing? Yeah, sewing. But tonight, no one grumbled. They adopted Joe's plan of dividing the long seams into 4 parts and calling the quarters Europe, Asia, Africa, and America, and in that way got an capitally, I think it's capitally, pair. This word is a bit, don't know its meaning, especially when they talked about the different countries as they stitched their way through them. At 9 they stopped work and sang as usual. Before they went to bed, no one but Beth could get much music out of the old piano, but she had a way of softly touching the yellow keys and making a pleasant accompaniment to the cymbal songs they sang. Meg had a voice like a flute, and she and her mother led little choir. Amy chirped like a cricket, and Joe wandered through the airs her own sweet well, always coming out at the wrong place with a croak or a quiver that spoiled the most pensive tune. They had always done this from the time they could lisp, crinkle, tar, and it had become a household costume, for the mother was a born singer. The first sound in the morning was her voice, as she went about the house singing like a lark, and the last sound at night was the same cheery sound, for the girls never grew too old for that familiar lullaby. I think it's lullaby, I suppose. Chapter 2. A Merry Christmas. Joe was the first to wake in the grey dawn of Christmas morning. No stockings hung at the fireplace, and for a moment she felt as much disappointed as she did long ago, when her little sock fell down because it was so cramped with goodies. Then she remembered her mother's promise, and slipping her hand under her pillow, drew out a little crimson covered book. She knew it very well, for it was that beautiful old story of the best life ever lived, and Joe felt that it was a true guidebook for any pilgrim going the long journey. She woke Meg with a Merry Christmas and bade her see what was under her pillow. A green covered book appeared with the same picture inside, and a few words written by their mother, which made their one present very precious in their eyes. Presently, Beth and Amy woke to rummage and find their little books. Also one dove coloured, the other blue, and all sat looking at and talking about them, while the east grows rosy with coming day. In spite of her small vanities, Margaret had a sweet and pious nature. I think I would love to know this word, which unconsciously influenced her sisters, especially Jo, who loved her very tenderly and obeyed her because her advice was so gently given. Girls, said Meg seriously, looking from the tumbled head beside her to the two little night-caped ones in the room beyond. Mother wants us to read and love and mind these books, and we must begin at once. We used to be faithful about it, but since Father went away and all this war terrible unsettled us, we have neglected many things. You can do as you please, but I shall keep my book on the table here and read a little every morning as soon as I wake, for I know it will do me good and help me through the day. Then she opened her new book and began to read. Jo put her arm around her and, leaning cheek to cheek, read also, with the quiet expression so seldom seen on her restless face. How good Meg is! Come, Amy, let's do as they do. I'll help you with the hard words, and they'll explain things if we don't understand, whispered Beth, much impressed by the pretty books and her sister's example. I'm glad mine is blue, said Amy, and then the rooms were very still, while the pages were softly turned, and the winter sunshine crept in to touch the bright heads and serious faces with a Christmas greeting. Where's Mother? Asked Meg, as she and Jo ran down to thank her for their gifts. Half an hour later, goodness only knows, some poor creature, what is this word? Creature come a-begging, and you went straight off to see what was needed. There never was such a woman for giving away victuals and drink, clothes and furren, replied Hannah, who had lived with the family since Meg was born and was considered by them all more as a friend than a servant. She will be back soon, I think, so fry your cake and have everything ready, said Meg, looking over the presents which were collected in a basket and kept under the sofa, ready to be reproduced at the proper time. Why, where is Amy? Where is Amy's bottle of cologne? I think, she added, as the little flask did not appear. She took it out a minute ago and went off with it to put a ribbon on it, or some such notion, replied Jo, dancing about the room to take the first stiffness of the new army slippers. Nice my handkerchiefs look, don't they? Hannah washed and ironed them for me, and I marked them all myself, said Beth, looking proudly at the somewhat uneven letters which had cost her such labour. Bless the child, she's gone and put Mother on them instead of March. How funny, cried Jo, taking up one. Isn't it right? I thought it was better to do it so, because Meg's initials are MM, and I don't want anyone to use these but Mommy, said Beth, looking troubled. It is all right, dear, and a very pretty idea, quite sensible too, for no one can ever mistake now. It will please her very much, I know, said Meg, with a frown for Joe and a smile for Beth. There's Mother. Hide the basket, quick, cried Joe. Okay, there's Mother. Hide the basket, quick, cried Joe, as the door slammed and steps sounded in the hall. Amy came in hastily. Oh wow. In hastily and looked rather abashed. Oh, what is this word? Abashed. Abashed when she saw her sisters all waiting for her. Where have you been? And what are you hiding behind you? Asked Meg, surprised to see, by her hood and cloak, that lazy Amy had been out so early. Don't laugh at me, Joe. I didn't mean anyone should know till the time came. I only meant to change the little bottle for a big one, and I gave all my money to get it, and I'm truly trying not to be selfish anymore. As she spoke, Amy showed the handsome flask which replaced the cheap one, and looked so earnest and humble in her little effort to forget herself that Meg hushed her on the spot, and Joe pronounced her a trump while Beth ran to the window and picked her finest rose or ornament, the stately bottle. You see, I felt ashamed of my present after reading and talking about being good this morning, so I ran around the corner and changed it the minute I was up, and I'm so glad, for mine is the handsomest one. Okay, for mine is the handsomest now. Another bang of the street door sent the basket under the sofa and the girls to the table, eager for breakfast. Merry Christmas, Mommy. Lots of them. Thank you for our books. We read and mean to every day, they cried in chorus. All right, how many minutes? 15. Not 15, 12. Is it 15? 12. Oh, wow. Where am I? Okay, Merry Christmas, little daughters. I'm glad you began at once and hope you will keep on. But I want to say one word before we sit down. Not far away from here lies a poor woman with a little newborn baby. 6 children are huddled into one bed to keep from freezing, for they have no fire. There is nothing to eat over there, and the oldest boy came to tell me they were suffering hunger and cold. My girls, will you give them your breakfast as Christmas present? They were all unusually hungry, having waited nearly an hour, and for a minute no one spoke. Only a minute, for Joe exclaimed impetuously, "Oh wow, what a lovely word. I'm so glad you came before we began. May I go and help carry the things to the poor little children?" asked Beth, eagerly. I shall take the cream and the muffins," added Amy, heroically, giving up the articles she most liked. Meg was already covering the buckwheats and piling the bread into one big plate. "I thought you'd do it," said Mrs. March, smiling as if satisfied. "You shall all go and help me, and when we come back we will have bread and milk for breakfast and make it up at dinner time." They were soon ready, and the procession set out. Fortunately, it was early, and they went through back streets, so few people saw them, and no one laughed at the funny party. A poor, bare, miserable room it was, with broken windows, no fire, ragged bedclothes, a sick mother, wailing baby, and a group of pale, hungry children cuddled under one old quilt, trying to keep warm. How the big eyes stared and blue lips smiled as the girls went in. Ouch, main cod. It is good angles, some to us, said the poor woman, crying for Joe. Funny angles in hoods and mittens, said Joe, and set them laughing. In a few minutes it really did seem as if kind spirits had been at work there. Hannah, who had cried wood, made a fire and stopped up the broken pennies with old hats and her own cloak. Mrs. March gave the mother tea and gruel and comforted her with promises of help. Let me highlight this one. Gruel, I think. What is that? While she dressed the little baby as tenderly as if it had been her own. The girls, meantime, spread the table, set the children around the fire, and fed them like so many hungry birds, laughing, talking, and trying to understand the funny broken English. Does it get die English Gunda? I don't know what is this. Cried the poor things as they ate and warmed their purple hands at the comfortable place. The girls had never been called angel children before, and thought it very agreeable, especially Joe, who had been considered a Sancho ever since she was born. That was a very happy breakfast, though they didn't get any of it. And when they went away, leaving comfort behind, I think there were not in all the city 4 merrier people than the hungry little girls who gave away their breakfast and contented themselves with bread and milk on Christmas morning. Alright, there's a word that I want to highlight this one. That's loving our neighbour better than ourselves, and I like it, said Meg, as they set out their presents while their mother was upstairs collecting clothes for the poor Hummels. Not a very splendid show, but there was a great deal of love done up in the few little bundles, and the 2 vase of red roses, white how can I pronounce this one? Chrysanthemums. I don't know, what is this one? Just highlight it. And trailing vines, which stood in the middle, gave quite an elegant air to the table. She's coming. Strike up, Beth. Open the door, Amy. 3 chairs for Mommy, cried Joe, prancing about while Meg went to conduct Mother to the seat of honor. Okay, this one is a bit new. Beth played her most cheerful march. Army threw open the door, and Meg enacted escort with great dignity. Mrs. March was both surprised and touched, and smiled with her eyes full as she examined her presents and read the little notes which accompanied them. The slippers went on at once. A new handkerchief was slipped into her pocket, well scented with Amy's cologne, I think. The rose was fastened in her bosom, and the nice gloves were pronounced a perfect fit. Okay, there was a good deal of laughing and kissing and explaining in the simple, loving fashion which makes these home festivals so pleasant at the time, so sweet to remember long afterward, and then all fell to work. The morning charities and ceremonies took so much time that the rest of the day was devoted to preparations for the evening festivities. Being still too young to go often to the theatre and not rich enough to afford any great outlay for private performances, the girls put their wits to work, and necessity being the mother of invention. Invention made whatever they needed. Very clever were some of their productions. Pasteboard guitars, antique lamps made of old-fashioned butter boats covered with sliver paper, gorgeous robes of old cotton glittering 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 with 10 spangles. Spangles from a pickle factory, and armor covered with the same useful diamond-shaped bits left in the sheets when the lids of 10 preserve pots were cut out. The furniture was used being turned topsy-turvy, and the big chamber was the sense of many innocent revels. No gentlemen were admitted, so Jo played male parts to her heart's content, and took immense satisfaction in a pair of russet. What is this word? Russet leather boots given her by a friend who knew a lady who knew an actor. These boots, an old foil, and a slashed doubled once used by an artist for some picture, were Jo's chief treasures, and appeared on all occasions. The smallness of the company made it necessary for the two principal actors to take several parts apiece, and they certainly deserved some credit for the hard work they did in learning 3 or 4 different parts, whiskying in and out of various costumes, and managing the stage besides. It was excellent drill for their memories, a harmless amusement, and employed many hours, which otherwise would have been ideal, lonely, or spent in less profitable society. On Christmas night, a dozen girls piled onto the bed, which was the dress circle, and sat before the blue and yellow chintz curtains in a most flattering state of expectancy. There was a good deal of rustling and whispering behind the curtain, a trifle of lamp smoke, and an occasional giggle from Amy, who was apt to get hysterical in the excitement of the moment. Presently a bell sounded, the curtains flew apart, and the operatic tragedy began. All right. Ooh. 23 minutes. 23 minutes, yeah. A gloomy wood, according to the one playbill, was represented by a few shrubs in pots, green baize on the floor, and a cave in the distance. This cave was made with a clothes horse for a roof. Bureaus, I think. Let me highlight this one. Bureaus for walls, and in it was a small furnace, on full blast, with a black spot on it, and an old witch bending over it. The stage was dark, and the glow of the furnace had a fine effect, especially as real steam issued from the kettle when the witch took off the cover. A moment was allowed for the first thrill to subside, then Hugo, the villain, stalked in Stockton with a clanging sword at his side, a slouched hat, black beard, mysterious cloak, and the boots. After pacing to and fro in much agitation, he struck his forehead and burst out in a wild strain, singing of his hatred to Rodrigo, his love for Zara, and his blazing resolution to kill the one and win the other. The gruff tones of Hugo's voice, with an occasional shout when his feelings overcame him, were very impressive, and the audience applauded the moment he paused for breath, bowing with air of one accustomed, I don't know how to pronounce it. Accustomed to public praise, he stole to the cavern, I think, and ordered Hagar to come forth with a commanding, "Who, minion? I need thee." What an old English. Out came Meg with grey horse hair hanging about her face, a red and black robe, a staff, and cabalistic signs upon her cloak. Hugo demanded a potion to make Zara adore him, and one to destroy Rodrigo. Hagar, in a fine dramatic melody, promised both, and proceeded to call up the spirit who would bring the love philtre. Hither, hither, from the home, airy spirit, I bid thee come. I bid thee come, born of roses, fed on dew, charms and potions, canst thou brew. Bring me here, with elfin speed, the fragrant philtre which I need. Make it sweet and swift and strong. Spirit, answer now my song. Spirit, answer now my song. A soft strain of music sounded, and then at the back of the cave appeared a little figure in cloudy white, with glittering wings, golden hair, and a garland of roses on its head. Waving a wand, it sang, "Hither I come, from my airy home, afar in the silver moon. Take this magic spell, and use it well, or its power will vanish soon." And rubbing a small gilded bottle at the witch's feet, the spirit vanished. Another chant from Hagar produced another apparition, not a lovely one, for with a bang an ugly black imp appeared, and having croaked a reply, tossed a dark bottle at Hugo, and disappeared with a mocking laugh, having wobbled his thanks, and put the potions in his boots. Hugo departed, and Hagar informed the audience that, as he had killed a few of her friends in times past, she has cursed him, and intends to thwart his plans and be revenged on him. Then the curtain fell, and the audience reposed and ate candy while discussing the merits of the play. I think I'm going to stop it today.